Most modern luxury car makers have these groups of special individuals in them, complete nut jobs actually, who like to defect from the other engineers who are busy mass producing your everyday cars. What these guys like to do is take those everyday cars and convert them into fire-breathing monsters. So you have the likes of BMW's M division, Mercedes-Benz's AMG division and so forth. And when they were done with the sedans, they turned to the SUVs, and thus a whole new breed of performance SUV was born. We have with us today the first creation to walk out of Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations division, the Range Rover Sport SVR. The SVO division isn't all that a secret, but they wanted to keep their involvement with the sport discreet, at least on the outside. Which is why the SVR doesn't really shout out that it's the sport's most potent avatar, the most potent Land Rover ever built. Of course, you'll notice the SVR badges for the first time on any Land Rover. The front bumper is new, and the first hint that the dynamic functions have taken precedence over secondary functions. The fog lights have made way for even larger air vents that supply much needed cooling to the now overworked radiators and brakes. At the back, there are massive quad pipes to announce the battle cry, and sitting in between is a diffuser panel probably finding itself out of place. Though it knows it isn't aesthetic and has its work cut out, so does that massive rear spoiler. Now you can imagine the power on tap if you need more downforce on a mammoth of this size. The SVR is indeed a new breed even on the insides. Did you ever wonder that in place of those large thrones of luxury, you'd get these lanky bucket seats? And carbon fiber in place of other opulent materials. Despite all the drama and the speed on the outside, you do get an incredible view. It is after all a massive Range. It's got all the convenience on the inside that you'd associate with the brand. Of course, they weren't going to compromise on the ethos of the brand in the need for more speed. But trust me, they found other ways to make the Range Rover Sport go even faster. So what do you do when 500 horses of power just isn't enough for you? Well, you call on the guys at SVO. What they've essentially done is taken the most powerful unit available with the Range Rover Sport, the 5-litre supercharged V8, and completely remapped it, extracting about 40 more horses of power and 55 Newton meters more torque. The result of which is something I can't wait to find out. The Range Rover Sport is a massive machine, but when you put your foot down and you unleash all of the 550 PS of max power, this thing is staggeringly quick. I mean, for something that weighs 2.3 tons, it should not be able to move so quickly. Not only has the SVO extracted almost everything that it could out of this engine, but what they've also done is they've given the ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox a brand new improved software, which essentially makes it about 50% quicker is what Land Rover claims. And along with the fact that this is a supercharged engine, it makes the throttle response and the in-gear acceleration almost instantaneous. You want to talk straight line performance? Well, Land Rover claims that the SVR does 0 to 100 in about 4.7 seconds, which is borderline mental. But it's not just about straight line speeds. Land Rover also claims that the SVR was designed for the racetrack. Now that is a bold move, but they have gone and actually proven it on a racetrack. So the SVR on the Nürburgring, it did a lap in about 8 minutes 14 seconds, which is absolutely unrealistic for an SUV of this size. Now remember, with big power comes big responsibilities, and in this case, well, dynamic capabilities. So to compensate for all that extra power, Land Rover have had to go and stiffen up the chassis by about 20%. But that's not all. The SVR also gets something called torque vectoring, which essentially in corners, it breaks the inside wheel so that you get more traction out of the corners. Now this is a technology that you've always heard of in supercars, but never in a car of this size. Of course, the area of electronic aids don't end there. There's a long list of aids that not only help the driver enable the occupants to reach home safely, but also go to a racetrack, find some sports cars, and give them a tough time. There's the usual off-roading modes for absolutely any type of terrain. Think of it like a Mars rover on planet Earth with the luxury bits of a private jet. But now there's something that you'd really never thought you'd see on a Range Rover, a dynamic mode. The SVR really lets the Range Rover Sport forget that it isn't really a sports car. The steering gets lively, the suspension hunkers down, and then the engine, well, just lets loose, like a Neapolitan Mastiff breaking the shackles.
The way the SVR builds momentum is absolutely astonishing. But it's also nerve-wracking because you can actually feel the weight of this mammoth being pulled by the scruff of its neck. But what's even scarier is when you try and stop this thing. It's got these massive 380mm discs with Brembo calipers, which under normal circumstances with normal cars would perhaps have the same stopping potential as a concrete wall. But on this car, even they have their work cut out.
In fact, I think it's fair to say that I've never ever cornered this hard sitting so high off the ground. The SVR takes all the notions related to SUV dynamics and incinerates them. The air suspension with the anti-roll control has been tuned for faster, flatter cornering. Revisions for the electronic locking rear differential give it far more enhanced traction. Oh, I could go on, but you really have to drive one to believe how well the SVR's dynamic potential masks its size.
And then of course there's a sound that this thing makes. Now even before the performance manages to put that smile on your face, it's actually this sound from this exhaust that's going to do all the tickling to your senses. I mean, put your foot down and the crackles and the pops. And it's not just down to the size of those massive quad pipes, but it's also got this two-stage active exhaust with electronically controlled bypass valves, so which upon frantic acceleration or the press of this little button here transforms the sound of this engine.
The Range Rover Sport SVR then is basically the Jaguar F-Type R who's come dressed for the Halloween party. Okay, well that's exaggerating a bit, but then it is the most potent SUV to come out of Great Britain. For the first time, you'll probably enjoy a Range Rover on a racetrack, even more so than an off-roading trail. So the SVR is brilliant, but having to shell out about 30 lakh rupees more for the SVR package over the Sport's most expensive variant does make you think, is it really a good enough deal?
But is it really a bad deal? Well, think of it this way. If you had the money but you could only choose one car that could do it all, trottle around in the city, do a little bit of grand touring, light and heavy off-roading duties as well, and tear up a racetrack, well, this car will do it all, and with some swagger.